Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome to episode number 165 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. So are you feeling like you want to do more, like you want to achieve more, and to feel a greater sense of happiness than what you're currently experiencing? If so, today's podcast on being ready for a change will help you understand how to stop going through the motions and actually start living your life. So I recently had some conversations with folks who are considering career changes from what they consider traditional post-MBA work to quote unquote unconventional choices. And I wanted to share some of the misconceptions I think that often come up around life and career changes so that you understand how to handle the inevitable change you're going through much more gracefully. And this applies, even if you're not a post-MBA person. So the first mistake is this, not thinking that your job situation will change. So no matter what job you choose, whether it is post-MBA or just the job that you're currently in, or maybe you're not in a job today, you will change jobs. You'll change positions, you'll change companies, you'll change fields, industries, maybe even start your own business or take a hiatus from work. And all of these changes are inevitable. And the biggest mistake we make is not believing that this is normal. I think that we rationally know that we don't have the same kind of careers that perhaps our parents did, but we don't always live that truth. We still feel shocked, right? And scared. And I want to normalize career changes because change can trigger a feeling of fear, and it triggers this feeling of loss. And we worry deeply about keeping our jobs. We worry about finding jobs. We worry about even having a job to support ourselves or to support our families. And we are often so worried about this job and money situation that we often sacrifice our health or our personal time in the process. Yet the one thing I want you to realize is that you'll be able to navigate the world you live in right now with so much less worry and fear if you knew that change was not just happening, but that you're setting yourself up for success. A lot of times what happens is we might know change is happening, but it's even worse. We feel not ready. We feel unprepared. We feel like we don't know what we're trying to do next, and we don't have that plan. And that can often drive people to do desperate things that might not be really helpful. And so change can be positive. It can mean the ability to do your work in a different way than you would have normally done it. And when I lead people through career changes, we focus on loving where we are as much as we focus on what to do next. And the reason for this is because it only serves you to do well where you are right now. It only serves you to create space where you are right now, even if you're super busy, it's super difficult. It only serves you to manage the stress that you're dealing with now. It only serves you to actually work with the people you're working with better than you are today, right now. And our lives are lived right now in our day-to-day. And when you start stringing together multiple days that don't feel so great at work, and you notice that it's not getting better, you want to question what's next. Sometimes people will come to me because they are in a rut, like, oh my gosh, had a terrible day, signing up for a consult. And then you talk to them later and you're like, oh, everything's fine now. I'm not going to think about a job change. It doesn't happen that often, but what I find is that that type of thinking usually means they'll stay in something that's not so great. It doesn't mean that it's not great, but it's really how they are in a situation that might be very much like riding a high and riding a low, riding a high and riding a low. And that kind of cycle usually doesn't create the best decisions when your emotions are at the extremes, when you're riding a high and then riding a low. So it doesn't mean that you need to rage quit or even do something immediately to leave right away, but it does mean that you're starting to figure out what's next. You want to continue to go down that path and actually come to a conclusion. So this is the second mistake, thinking it takes a long time to figure out what's next. It doesn't take a long time to figure out what's next. This is the next mistake that people make. They think it's this long, drawn out process of self discovery that I'll only come to when I've worked through it all the way down to my bones. And because they think that's the case, they don't start. They think it's going to take a while. And it's the exact opposite. It's often pretty clear, at least to me, relatively quickly when I talk to clients about their lives, about their work, what they really want, and what actually makes the most sense for what's next. And obviously, it comes through experience of working with different clients in different situations, but there's patterns. And in those patterns, you often see that there's a pretty quick next step that you can have. You might not want to commit to the idea. You might have fears. You might want to delay making the change, but the knowing comes from several questions, and then we have it. And the reason I don't work with clients for just one session, even though it can be that clear and quick, is because once they know what they want, they still have to go and do it. And the same amount of like aha that comes from one session of figuring it out, imagine that multiplied over many sessions where month after month, you're clicking into the next thing. You have to figure out what works for you and what doesn't, and what to do to actually make certain moves and how to do it in ways that work for you. And this is where the real work starts to happen. And this is where the patience actually is required. And sometimes we have that impatience towards our next thing, like, hurry up, I want to get it right now. But the patience for the long haul, for the result you are going to have from the bigger move that you're making overall, is completely worth it. And so it's not just the decision of what's next, but committing to the shift, whether it's an identity shift of who you're showing up as and what matters to you and what's required of you in this next role or in this next kind of work. It is a shift in priority sometimes that you really are committing to. Like, I actually do have a family and I do want to be home more often than I'm not. Or I really do need to be the breadwinner for our family. So I might not be there as often as I'd like. Whether it's people that you're committing to, yourself, the places that you work, your home life, the place itself, or the income that you want to make. And this leads to mistake number 3, which is thinking you have to make drastic changes. We often go so long and so hard for the organizations that we work with that when we finally get ready for the change, it's been a long time in the making. It's like the frog boiling slowly in the water. And sometimes we don't realize that the water has been boiling for a while, and we get to this point where suddenly we're like, what? And where am I? And I need to hurry up and jump out. Yet we know that that panicked jumping and trying to escape from a place of desperation leads to a lot of effort, maybe a lot of movement. You might be sending out a lot of resumes. You might be just like hitting up every single person you know, but you're not seeing a lot of results. So we want a calm mind that comes from a steady progress that you're making towards a new direction. That means one step at a time, and these steps add up. And it seems miraculous that people figure it out. They make these switches, and this happens consistently. It feels like some kind of overnight success, when in reality, you look back and you see that it's just a series of actions well placed in the order that makes the most sense that kept adding up. Not because every single thing you did work, but because you kept trying and you kept getting more tuned into what works for you in terms of what you want next. You keep learning with each conversation, with each change that you're actually making, what you need in your life and what you need from where you are right now, not just what you want, and how to not get all of your needs only met through your work. And all of these things are important, which leads to mistake number 4, which is focusing on where you work and not just how you work. And that next mistake is that change doesn't always mean that you need to change organizations or you need to opt out completely. Sometimes what you need even more is a little bit of structure to focus on competing demands on your time, to create something from some vague thing that you're working with today, where suddenly maybe a reorg happened, or maybe you have new responsibilities or a new role, and you're just trying to figure out how to do it well and effectively. So this is about how you work, not just where you work. And this often happens when suddenly something changes, even in our personal life, like you have a new relationship to tend to, or maybe the arrival of kids in your life, or maybe the emergence of elder care, right? Taking care of parents, or even sometimes helping out with siblings or other people in your family, when personal life becomes a bigger priority than it used to be. And these changes are going to create this desire for you to change your work and the situation in which you work so that you can accommodate all of these other changes. Yet, sometimes changing our work isn't always as easy as changing how you work. So, to be more purposeful with your time is a how, to honor your commitments to both yourself and others around you is a how, to see how you're choosing the way you spend your time in small ways that can add up to big results. And I often find that this is where the health component becomes more of a factor. There are really effective, simple things that you can do that will drastically change your stress levels, your moods, and yet most people don't do them. They're free, they are completely doable, but when you don't yet have habits or routines that support your health, you'll find that it's one of the first things to go when other demands enter your life, especially when you used to have a lot more time to just kind of make it work, fit it in when the opportunity occurs. Yet the one thing that is the most important thing is you being here and alive. You don't need to be in perfect health, which doesn't even exist. You just need a few things that really keep your energy with you and allow you to feel like every day is your best day. And this is truly possible. I remember long slongs of time where every day was this battle of will versus desire to make choices that were loving towards my body. Things like when to go to bed, what to eat, how much work should I do, what should I give up, what do I think, how do I address this email that's coming through, what about what this person is saying, how do we prepare for this inevitable, frenzied response. Our mind is so powerful, and we direct so much of our attention to what we need to achieve, to our work, to our list of to-dos. And it was my own practice of committing to my health as my number one priority that showed me that it's possible. It's possible to change the way you work and still deliver on results. When my health kept falling apart during burnout, and again, many of us will be a little bit tuned into it, but not completely until something really goes sideways. So I just want you to know that for you, your health falling apart might be different from my health falling apart. Some people, it is hair loss, weight gain, anxiety, having a hard time sleeping. And for others, like myself, it was getting sick, inflammation, things like that, that came from stress. And so I realized when that kept happening, that it wasn't just about me being in an intense job that would create better, that actually created the situation where I wasn't in good health. It was the way I thought about everything around me, including how I handled stress. Obviously, it was a choice to even be in certain kinds of roles, but there are people who are there who are able to handle the stress differently and manage it, which meant that even though I didn't think that it was a me problem, right? You start to blame the organization, usually in these cases. I realized that if this kept happening, then I had a part to play in this. And then you start to evaluate, you start to look at what you're doing and whether it's this me problem or a them problem. And in many cases, it was a me problem. And there's a portion that's a them problem, but at least you can clean up your side of the street first. And when you think about the stress that is just laid in our daily lives, it's the stress of demands, of difficult people, of change, or even the guilt of feeling like whatever you do, it's not enough. If I was working, then I must be sacrificing my health and I wasn't resting enough. If I was not working, then I wasn't producing and creating income or results. So that is that health equation that we forget about. Not that it has to be that way, but we have this choice that we're constantly making that we don't even realize is a choice that we're making. And when you're ready for a change and you're not sure what to do because you're worried about the effects on your health or your income, you're thinking about that as a trade-off. And we think there's a trade-off. So then we try to make these big choices, in or out. Do this completely and make a lot of money and just sacrifice some health in the meantime, or just have this perfect health and no stress. Yet we need to really fight for an in-between. For the sake of your income, for the sake of your health, fight for the in-between. Fight for rational thinking of what's sustainable, what's appropriate, what is still at the edge of your growth while being a human that has other needs and that has a full life. And there may be times when opting out is the answer that makes the most sense for you and what you value. You leave the situation that you're in. And there may be times when you don't feel like you have that many choices. So you keep on doing what you're doing, even if you know that you're ready for a change. Either way, no judgment here. I just want you to know that the change will come. You'll either be the one to create the change or it will just happen to you. And I'm not saying that either one is better than the other, but I am going to tell you that how prepared you are for the next thing is going to help you feel more empowered and more accepting of what's next for you. And I've shared a lot already of what you can be prepared for to help smooth the journey. And it's not if you're ready for a change, it's when. So let's make it work for you to have the health, to have the wealth, to have the relationships that you desire. This is what is possible when change occurs. So in order to help you dig deep and evaluate what you want to work through, I've created a free workshop. We're heading into summer. It is very timely because it's one of the best times to start new habits. When you're actually away from all your day to day, you can actually start new habits. You can shift identities, break free, and question some of the beliefs. And so the workshop replay is live now. Even if you're super busy, check it out. A Summer of Magic is for you. And I share exactly the shifts that I was making mindset wise, the shifts that I was making to really carve out time, space, and energy to actually engage in a shift in who I was that could help me prepare for finding my calling, creating time where I could be away with my family, travel to places and see people, and to actually be as present as I can be in those moments. These all felt like light years away at one point. And because I was able to make that journey and take people along with me, I want to share some of those learnings with you. So go check out the replay. It is at the link in the show notes, and share it with people that you think might be in that same phase where they're thinking about all of these trade-offs that they have to make and not sure whether or not their summer is actually going to lead to not just like a tan and a good story of where you went, but an actual decision or a change. Because if you're ready for a change, I would love to support you with this content or in other ways. And I also have an exciting announcement about our next retreat on August 7th to 11th, 2023. It will be in Benicia, New York, which is this Catskill Mountains, about 2.5 hours away from New York City. We will be helping you think about the next leg of your journey and career. So imagine walking out, knowing what's next, the roadmap, and getting started. And I'm bringing you the Career Revelation Academy in live form. You'll also have digital access to it as well. So you can watch it on repeat, play back the portions that you want to get more clear on, and keep in the energy of the change. So how to actually make a career change in 30 days. So that is correct. You heard me right, 30 days. So let's go. We're ready. Reach out at www.mayemson.com/contact to learn more and to book your spot. It's coming up. You don't want to miss it. Imagine what can change for you in 30 days. And so this is so exciting. I'm really ready, prepared to help you guys figure out not just what you want next, but how to do it and how to make work and life work for you. All right, my friends, have an amazing week, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.